Okay, good afternoon, my dear students. Okay, so once again, we are about to discuss the internal control, and this our part two, as it is our continuation for our on our topic last meeting. Okay, so internal control. Okay, so let us refresh our minds on what is internal control. Okay, we say internal control again, it is for the purpose of safeguarding of our asset and for to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of our daily operations. Okay. And if we say internal control class, isn't it that we have discussed, we have three major classifications or functions of internal control. We have the preventive control, detective control, and corrective control. If we say preventive control, those are controls that are used or that were designed to deter problems, while detective controls are the controls that are designed to discover problems, and the corrective controls are those controls that are designed to correct the problems. If we say preventive controls, those are controls that would hinder or block the possible um, occurrence or the happening of the specific threat or risk that the management or the company might face. Okay? If we say detective and corrective control, the risk or the threat was already there, and we have only to detect it and to make necessary actions to correct or the mistakes or whatsoever misstatement caused by the threats, okay, or the risks that we have in doing business. Okay, and the categories, again, we have the general, which is what we say overall internal control system and processes. If we say application, those are specific controls or in where it is on a transaction level. Okay? Transactions here are processed correctly. Okay, so that is our objective. Okay. So let's go now to our internal control frameworks. Okay. So here, class, we have two major basis for internal control frameworks. First is the control objective for information and related technology, or what we call the COBIT. And under COBIT class, we have the following aspects. We have the business objectives, IT resources, and IT processes. Okay, so the objectives, what do we want, uh what is specific procedure, activities, policies, okay, and what are our goals. So those are our business objectives. So controls are were to be designed based on those objectives. Next is IT resources. What are available resources to us? Our hardware, our softwares, okay, our financial resources. So in protecting our or safeguarding our asset, so what specific controls do we have to design? Next is the IT processes. So specifically on the activities or the acts or the processes that we have to perform. So we have to control those activities in order to prevent losses or inefficiency in our operation. And the next framework that we'll be using or where we have to put our focus is on the COSO, or what we call the Committee of Sponsoring Organizations. Okay, so in the COSO class, we have yung cube na makikita nyo doon sa mga other books, dinidiscuss yung cube. Okay? So internal control, here is the we have the integrated framework. Okay? And under COSO class, they had proposes five aspects. We have first, the control environment. If we say control environment, this is the environment that we have in our business. What are the the characteristic of the management, or how do they manage the operations of the business, their behavior, their policies, how they craft their um ano tawag dito, how they craft their their vision, mission. Paano ba nila ginagawa yon? For example, there are some businesses in where they are incorporating religion in their business. Okay, so titignan natin yon kasi paano ba siya, ano ba yung behavior nung doon sa company? Okay? Gaano ba ang samahan ng mga tao doon? Gaano ba ka-establish yung morals ang tinatawag nila? Okay? Next, we have the control activities class. If we say control activities, those are the specific actions of the employees and the management on the processing of the accounting transactions. So those are control activities. So ibig sabihin, we have to monitor and we have to design specific control, internal controls related to those procedures or activities. Next, third is the risk assessment. So here, class, we have to consider the risk, how big is the risk, and how the frequency of it, possibly yung gaano ba kalaki yung risk, which items are risky, considered risky items, yung mga ganun. Let's say for example, in our asset, asan dito ang mga proprotektahan natin, di ba? We all know naman that if we say high risk item, isa na dyan yung mga uh, yung cash and cash equivalent natin. Okay? And also our inventories. Diba? We have our rule na pag the smaller, okay, it is, tapos the higher the value it is more prone siya sa risk or sa theft, di ba? Mas mataas yung risk na pwede nating ialat doon. Okay, so we have to make sure then uh, we have to see yung gaano ba yung level ng risk in our uh, organization and in doing business. Okay? Fourth is the information and communication. So, if you say information and communication, ang sinasabi dito, there should be an open communication between across all levels. Okay? So, we have top to bottom and bottom to top approach. Dapat lahat-lahat yan, yung cascading of information and communication maayos from taas or higher level management going to the rank and file. Okay? And the other way around, pabalik naman from the rank and file going to the top level management. Okay? And also, etong from one department to another department. Okay, so it's very important the na may orchestrate natin, na maayos natin yung communication between departments because we are under the same business or same company. Okay, so therefore each department should act um to help or in accordance, okay, to one specific objective or goal. Okay, then we have the last one, okay, the monitoring. Okay, it is the responsibility of the management to monitor whatever internal control the company has. Okay, so dito class, when we say monitoring, we have to monitor the internal controls that are we have to monitor the internal controls, how are they being implemented. Okay, kumbaga nasusunod ba siya or andyan lang siya, nakasulat lang sa libro natin. However, there is a weak implementation of it. Okay, so dapat if we have existing internal control, we have also to review it and to ensure that they are properly implemented. Okay? So kumbaga, andyan siya at na-craft siya, na-design siya, at tapos nagagamit siya. Okay? So that is monitoring. Okay? So to wrap it up, we have five under the COSO. We have the control environment, control activities, risk assessment, information and communication, and monitoring. Okay. So we have the term risk-based versus control-based. Okay, this is under the Enterprise Risk Management Model or ERM model na natin ang tawag natin. Okay, so here class, ano nga ba ang pagkakaiba ng risk-based versus at saka yung control-based? Pag sinabi nating risk-based, okay, it's more on we have to classify high risk ba, moderate risk, low level ba yung risk. Kasi ang pagtutuunan natin ng pansin yung mga high risk, okay, yung mga matataas yung risk level niya. Pag sinabi naman control based, tingnan natin, uy, do we have enough internal control related to that activity? Okay, meron bang existing control? Okay, so titingnan natin kung may mga controls ba yung business natin. Okay, so kung may control na tayo na nag-exist, yung implementation, so we have to review the control procedures of the company. Okay, so under here plus, we have the COSO element, okay, yung mga na-discuss natin kanina, and then the setting objectives, event identification, and risk management. Okay, so those things class are naka-design para doon sa either we are under a risk base or a control base. Okay? So doon natin siya ina-align or inaangkla. Okay? So pag sinabi nating mga risks, okay? Or yung mga threats natin, ito yung inevitable na sinasabi natin. Okay? Yung occurrence nila, nandyan siya, and it is inevitable, possible na mangyari siya at hindi natin maiwasan. Okay? However, we can control those risks. Okay? Yung mga risks natin, pwede naman natin kontrolin. Okay? And at least reduce it, okay, to the lowest level. Okay? Pwede nating i-reduce sa pinaka uh, lowest level na accept or yung tinatawag natin na acceptable risk. Okay? Remember again, let me put an emphasis on this. Pag sinabi nating risk, hindi natin pwedeng i-eliminate ang risk. We could not 100% eliminate the risk. We can only reduce it to the lowest level acceptable. Okay, so paano natin kinokontrol tong mga risk na to? We could either accept, diversify, or share and transfer. Okay? Pwede nating tanggapin. Tanggapin na lang na, oh, it's part of doing business. Therefore, kung magkaroon man tayo ng losses, parte yan. Okay? Parte yan ng pagnenegosyo. So we have to accept it. Or we have to diversify. Ibig sabihin, we have to put our resources in different basket. Kasi yung sinasabi, don't put your eggs in one basket. Eggs. Okay, so wag mo daw ilagay lahat ng mga itlog mo sa isang basket. Dapat ilagay natin sa madami para pag nahulog yung isang basket, nabasag man yung mga itlog doon, meron pa ring naiwan na hindi naapektuhan. Okay, that is what we call diversification. Okay, we could also share risk. Okay, i-share natin yung burden mas maganda kung pinagsasaluan natin. Okay, so i-share natin sa iba. Okay, through insurance. Okay, or we will going to shift it or transfer it. Okay, instead na tayo yung mag-manage yun, ilipat natin yung risk sa mga experts sa pagmamanage. Okay? So that is the very purpose of assessing the risk. Okay? Okay. So puntahan natin isa-isa yung mga elements or doon sa COSO. Okay, di ba sinabi ko natin kanina the control environment, pinahapyawan ko na, and eto yung yung mga specific details about our control environment. Pag sinabi natin control environment, includes the management philosophy, operating style, and risk appetite. Okay, so kung ang isang tao, di ba, high risk yung appetite niya, ibig sabihin gustong-gusto niyang mag-venture sa mga risky items. We have to consider those things kasi possibly makakuha siya doon ng mataas na income. However, there is a very high risk or chance na magkaroon naman ng failure. Okay? So, management philosophy, operating style, and risk appetite. Okay, so it is on the management side. Okay, we have under the control environment, we have also to um, consider the board of directors. Okay, ano ba yung management strategies nila, yung mga board of directors? Ano ba yung gusto nilang maging direksyon ng business natin? Paano ba nila ini-establish yung goals of the business? Okay? How are they committed to integrity, ethical values, and competence? Ano ba yung perspective nila about integrity, ethical values, and competence? And next, their organizational structure. Paano ba ang organizational structure? Meron bang overlapping of functions? Meron bang very high ba yung competition level in our organization? Okay, we have to consider those things. And then if we say control environments also, we have to take a look on the methods of assigning authority and responsibility. Okay, methods of assigning authority and responsibility. Okay, we have to take a look or consider the hierarchy class, the hierarchy between employees of the uh, company. Okay? So, sino yung may direct supervision, sino ang responsible sa mga ganitong bagay, sino ang responsible sa kabila. Okay, so we have to consider these things. And also, under control environment, we have to take a look on the human resource standard natin. Ano ba yung standard natin? What are the qualifications? What are the criterias na siniset natin? If or during the hiring process. Okay? So, if this is the needed na fact na activities, okay, ano yung criteria natin in hiring or personnel? So, we have to consider our human resource standard. Mataas nga ba yun? Kung kinaasan natin, paano natin mini-measure? Then we have also the external influences. So ito yung mga competition, yung pressure galing from our customers, our suppliers, our investors. Okay, so we have those things are under our control environment. Object setting. At paano ba yung objective setting in our enterprise resource management? Okay, so strategic class. We have to set our objective strategically. Okay, so we under the strategic, we have high level goals aligned with corporate mission. Okay, so our goals should be aligned with our mission and also with the goals of the organization. Okay, next we have operational. Okay? In objective setting, paano natin ginagawa ito operationally? Okay? So we have to consider the effectiveness and efficiency of operations. Mabilis nga bang nagagawa natin yan? At pag nagawa natin, gaano ba ka-accurate yung pagkakagawa? Gaano ba ka-perfect yung pagkakagawa natin? Okay? Yung pag-execute natin. Okay? That is operational and under objective setting. And on the reporting side, okay, we have to consider whether it is complete, the information is complete and reliable, or and whether uh, it improved the decision making, or it is something of value to the decision makers. Okay? So, di ba, importante, if you say information, it should be complete and reliable. Complete, walang mga missing items, kasi kung may mga missing items in our information, it might give a wrong, the decision maker is a wrong, it might signal wrong direction to the decision makers. Okay, next is compliance. Okay, so if we say compliance class as our part of our objective setting, we have to consider the existing laws and regulations of the land or of the country we are part of. Okay, of the community class. Okay, so ano nga ba yung existing laws and regulations natin? Okay, so for example, in taxation, we have to file income tax every quarter and yearly. Okay, so paano ba natin kino-comply to in our environmental obligations? Nagko-comply ba tayo sa Clean Air Act natin? Okay, proper waste disposal. Okay, so tinitingnan natin yung compliance natin sa mga regulations and laws of the land. Ev- Event identification. Okay, we have a statement here saying that an incident or occurrence emanating from internal or external resources that affects implementation of strategy or achievement of objective. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, class, a specific event might be triggered by an internal or external factor. Okay? And such affects the implementation of a strategy or the achievement of our goals and objectives. Okay, so it could have a positive or negative impact. Okay, it could have a positive or negative impact. Okay, so also class, events may trigger other events. So one event will cause another event. Kumbaga, ito yung triggering factor natin. Ito yung nag-push para magkaroon ng isang ganitong activity or event. Okay? All events should be anticipated. So therefore, um, you should have a focus and clear mind on those event, ano yung mga nangyayari in our operations, in our during all throughout the period. Okay, so we have to consider those things. Ano yung mga nangyari sa buong taon? Okay, so those are our events and we have to record them properly. Okay, for monitoring. Risk assessment class. Let's go back to the risk assessment. Okay, so it is very important, class, that we have to identify the risks. Okay? We should know what is the name of the cave. We should know, class, what is the problem. Okay? And then we have to identify the likelihood of risk. Ano nga ba yung chances of occurrence of such risk? We have also to identify the positive or negative impact of those risks. Kasi pag sinabi natin positive risk, okay, baka pwede nating consider ito kasi it is an avenue for us, class, to improve and to expand or whatsoever. If we say negative risk naman, yung impact niya, yung negative risk, yun yung kailangan nating i-manage. Kailangan nating paliitin yan. Okay? Types of risk, we have what we call the inherent and residual risk. Pag sinabi nating inherent, andun na from the very beginning. Those are risks that exist before any plans are made to control it. Bago ka pa mag-isip ng mga ways on how you will going to control it, andun na. Kaya we call them inherent risk. Okay? Inherent. Kumbaga parte na siya ng pagnenegosyo or doing business. Meron naman tayo yung residual risk na tinatawag. Pag sinabing residual, yung natitira or the remaining risk after controls are in place to reduce it. Okay? Kasi sinasabi nga natin kanina na pag risk, we could not totally eliminate it. Okay? Meron at merong may iwan because there is no such thing as risk-free organization, risk-free business. So therefore, even after our effort to establish different internal controls, meron pa ring possibility na meron pa ring mag-exist na risk or challenges sa organization natin. Meron pa ring residual risk tayo. Okay? And then what will be our risk response? If after identifying the risk, of course, we have to make our response on those risks. Kasi kung nakita na natin na nandyan yung risk tapos pinabayaan mo lang, kalokohan na yon. Isn't it? Okay, so therefore, anong gagawin natin with those risks? Either we reduce it, accept it, share, and avoid. Okay, di ba? Kanina ko pa sinasabi, risk, we have to reduce it to a minimum level. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to implement effective internal control. Okay? At most especially yung preventive control natin. However, equally important naman yung detective and corrective control natin. Okay? So with those controls, ma-reduce natin yung uh, the possible occurrence of those is. Okay? Kung another way naman, another response na pwede nating gamitin is to accept the risk. Okay? Sinasabi ko nga kanina, sometimes acceptance is the key. We just have to do nothing but to accept the likelihood of risk. Kasi ang sinasabi naman natin, parte yan ng pagnenegosyo. Therefore, we have to embrace it. We have to embrace the risk. Okay? Kasi kung andyan siya, edi hayaan mo lang kasi parte nga talaga yan ng pagnenegosyo. Okay? So that could be another response. Third, okay, we have to share the risk. Okay? Mas maganda kung pinagsasaluan natin, pinagsisharean natin ang risk, di ba? Yung mga burdens. Kasi kung sasuluhin natin, baka masyadong mapikat, di ba? Baka naman hindi natin kayanin. Therefore, mas maganda i-share naman natin sa iba. Okay, so paano ba natin ginagawa yon? Bili tayo ng insurance. Okay? Buy tayo ng insurance kasi instead na tayo yung mag-absorb, just simply absorb the risk, i-share natin, oh, eto, baka matulungan tayo ng mga insurance companies kasi expert sila sa pag-manage ng insurance eh. Kung merong nangyari, edi baka ma-refund natin yung sarili natin sa mga insurance companies. Also, we have to outsource possible. Instead na tayo yung gagawa mismo, we have tayo yung magmamanage mismo, baka naman pwedeng ibang tao na dyan. Okay? Iba na yung gamitin natin na workforce. Or we could hedge, diba? Yung hedging natin, yung parang kinatayaan mo ano ba yung mangyayari. Okay? Parang pagsugal ka, ito yung possible na occurrence, mangyayari nga ba to? So, kino-consider mo kasi kung in case na mangyari to, dapat mananalo ako sa kabila. Okay, so yun yung hedging eh. Kumbaga, sa palararan tayo, hini-hedge natin. Dapat binabalance natin. Kung talo ako dito sa kabila, dapat manalo ako sa kabila. Kung manalo ako sa kabila, pwede ako matalo din sa kabila. Okay, so binabalance natin yun so that we could reduce the impact of those risks or yung mga losses natin, possible losses. Okay, and the fourth response, we could avoid risk. Okay, and ito yung do not engage in activity that produces risk. However, hindi natin pwedeng gawin to all the time, class, or else hindi ka na magnenegosyo. Therefore, etong avoidance of risk, pakonti-konti lang to. Ang sinasabi lang nito, we should be aware of ano yung pinapasok natin na mga activities or na investment. Okay, alam natin kung asan yung kakayahan natin, asan yung kaya lang natin i-manage. Okay? Because kung sobra-sobra yung risk level, baka hindi na natin kayang i-manage yun. Therefore, huwag tayong mag-engage in those type of activities. Okay? So, do not engage in activity that produces risk. However, sinabi ko nga ulit, okay, to put an emphasis on this class, this response could not be made forever or hindi natin pwedeng na basta iwas na lang tayo ng iwas ng risk. Okay? Because risk is part of doing business. Okay. So here class, we have an illustration of event risk response model. Okay. So, di ba ang way natin sa pagbasa ng flow chart is galing tayo sa taas, going down. Okay, pababa tayo or top to bottom. Okay. So, start tayo. Identify the events or threats that confront the company. Ano nga ba yung mga risk natin? Ano nga ba yung mga threats that are available or that are existing, okay? Na pwedeng kaharapin ng company or kumpanya natin. Okay? So we have to identify them, class. Okay? Pag na-identify natin, uy, eto pala yung risk natin. We have to estimate the likelihood or probability of each threat occurring. Okay? So, may risk tayo. Gaano ba yung chance na tatatama sa atin to at magkukos ng losses? Ano ba yung chance? Sobrang laki ba yung chance or maliit lang naman? Okay? And then we have to estimate the impact or potential loss from each threat. Halimbawa, okay, nakita na natin na identify anong klase ng risk. Tapos, ano yung probability na mangyayari to. Let's say, for example, na magkakaroon ng baha sa Tuguegarao. Okay? Magkaroon ng baha, masira yung mga computers natin, yung operations natin maapektuhan. Okay, so that is the risk. Okay, ngayon, estimate natin ilang percent yung possibility na mangyayari to. Okay? Kung nagkabaha nga, we have to estimate the impact. Mga magkano kaya ang mawawala sa akin or sa atin or sa kumpanya natin. Okay? After that, we will going to identify controls to guard against each threat. Okay? So anong gagawin natin? Mag-invest ako, papagandahin ko yung yung building ko. Meron dapat yung structure dapat may third floor, fourth floor para at least doon ako maglagay para hindi kung magkaroon man ng baha, safe pa rin yung mga computers ko or yung second floor at saka third floor. Pwede kong gamitin yon. Next, we have to estimate the cost and benefit from instituting controls kasi dapat the cost should not be higher than the benefit natin. Okay? And we have to make a decision. Is it cost beneficial to protect the system from a threat? If the answer is yes, then we have to reduce the risk by implementing controls to guard against the threat. If the answer is no, we have to avoid, share, or accept the risk. Okay? And then whether it is a yes or no, we will go back to identifying the events or threats that confront the company. Okay, balik tayo doon. We have to re-evaluate. Okay, we have to check ulit. Meron na naman bang bagong risk or threat na harapin natin. Okay? So paulit-ulit lang tayo doon. That is our cycle. Okay? Next, let's go to control activities. If we say control activities, those are policies and procedures to provide reasonable assurance that control objectives are met. Okay, so example nito, we have the proper authorization of transaction and activities, uh, signature or code on document to signal authority over process. Okay, segregation of duties, andyan yung project development and acquisition control, change management controls, design and use of documents and record, safeguarding assets, control and data, and the independent check on performance. Okay? So, tignan natin yung segregation of accounting duties. Okay? No one employee should be given too much responsibility. Okay? So, dapat i hati-hatiin natin to. Kasi kung napunta yung sa isang tao, itong mga activities na to, ah, there is a high chance of um, misstatement, okay, due to fraud, ba? Possibility of fraud. Okay, so ano yung mga tatlo na kailangan nating tutukan? Yung authorization, recording, and custody. Okay, pag sinabi nating authorization, ito yung pag-approve ng transaction sa paggawa ng mga decision. Recording, of course, you're familiar with it, yung pag-record, lalagay yung information doon sa books natin, and custody paghahawak ng cash, ng other assets natin sa paggawa ng mga cheque. Okay, so those are custody activities under custody. Okay, information and communication. Okay, the primary purpose of an accounting information system is to gather, record, process, summarize information, and to communicate it to the users of the information. Okay? And the last one, monitoring class. Monitoring, see, monitoring, we have to evaluate internal control framework. There should be an effective supervision. We have to monitor the responsibility accounting system. Sino nga ba ang mga responsible person sa mga ganitong bagay? We have to monitor system activities, track purchase software and mobile devices. We have to conduct periodic audits, employ a security officer and compliance officer, engage forensic specialists, install fraud detection software, and implement a fraud hotline. Okay, so those activities are under monitoring. Okay? Segregation of system duties. The likelihood of okay. So it's like an accounting system duties, okay, should also be separated. Okay, these duties, okay, yung mga dapat paghiwalayin, system administration, network management, security management, change management, users, system analysis, programmers, computer operators, information system, librarian, data control. Okay, dapat magkakaiwalay mga yan. Okay, and that's it, class. Thank you for listening. Okay, have a nice day. Goodbye.